mission, Jimmy Vasser, should you choose to accept it, is to win the IndyCar Championship. You and your team will face great danger. All of your considerable racing skills will be put to the test. You must get past 4 major obstacles. Al Unser Jr. is consistent, and that's what makes him a threat. He can attack at any time. Scott Pruitt is like your team, young and eager and ready to win. Andre Ribeiro decimated your entire force at Rio de Janeiro. Michael Andretti, a former IndyCar champion himself, shocked everyone with the win on the Nazareth Mile. 4 tough teams, 10 races to go. Good luck, Mr. Vasser. This tape will self-destruct.
It's absolutely beautiful weather in Milwaukee, Wisconsin at Wisconsin State Fair Park, where we're ready for the IndyCars in the Miller 200. 200 miles around this great track. But there is a story already developing from qualifying yesterday where it rained all day. When they finally got some qualifying going, it wasn't enough. They decided to take the practice times instead. And that's created some good news and some bad news for some people. Let's go to Jack Arute.
Well, Paul, what the officials did is they took the practice times from the 3-time practices that were held on Friday and Saturday morning. And lo and behold, look who had the fastest laps in practice. Paul Tracy, the defending champion, but not with Newman Haas anymore, back with Team Penske. Tracy will start on the pin on this 1-mile oval. The great story about Tracy, if you've seen him in interviews throughout the course of the year, he's grown a goatee. He says he will not shave that goatee until he wins a race. Some people say they've brought a razor to victory lane today. Let's check in with Gary Gerald.
Jack, here's the other side of that rain story from yesterday. One of the tough luck guys sits in the cockpit of car number 49. We're talking about Parker Johnstone. They had problems in the morning practice session. They had transmission gearbox difficulties, went to the spare car, made changes, got the car in great race shape. 8 cars attempted qualifying, and it was Parker who had the fastest speed of all, nearly 172 miles per hour. But then came the rains, then came the disappointment. He is now starting all the way back in the 19th position. But the story doesn't end there. He was going very quick in the warm-up session this morning. In fact, among the top 3, this team thinks they can move from the 10th row to challenge on this newly resurfaced 1 mile at Milwaukee. Now, back to Jack.
Well, Gary, there were 2 instances during practice. The first one, Stefan Johansson, who crashed. But during qualifying, this man here, Alex Zanardi, part of the potent Team Ganassi, went spinning out of turn number 3 into 4 and backed into the wall. Do you see this area here? Well, this is all padded in because Zanardi's head literally hit all the way back here. That's the kind of impact. But more importantly for Alex Zanardi, the potency of his team. They took the backup car out here. His practice times were strong enough that he starts on the inside of row number 4. Paul?
Well, Gary alluded to it, and we want to show it to you. For the first time since 1968, they have resurfaced this venerable 1-mile track, which is the oldest continuously operated in the country. That's what it used to look like. But then they got to work on it over the winter, and on May 3rd, well, look at it now. Nice, smooth surface. But, Danny, what is that going to mean, do you think, to the race itself?
Well, a couple of things. Of course, they don't have to contend with the bumps, but we talked to Paul Tracy earlier, and he said the track really hasn't changed. It still loses grip after about 30 laps in the car, 35 laps. And one thing that we've lost is that apron down low where they used to do a lot of passing. So I think we're going to see a little bit different racetrack, and they're going to have to move the groove up higher today and try to run 2 abreast.
So at least the early laps will be somewhat experimental for these 28 IndyCar drivers. Now, let's go back to the starting grid once again, and Gary Gerald.
And among the 28, Paul, a young second-generation driver who's realizing a dream today. P.J. Jones sits in the cockpit of Dan Gurney's number 98. He's making his IndyCar debut. Parnelli Jones, his famous father, got his first ever IndyCar start on this racetrack 36 years ago in 1960. He drives for Dan Gurney's All-American Racing Team. Look at the paint job here on the nose. The Eagles trying to fly with Toyota power from the back of the pack. P.J. Jones and his teammate Juan Manuel Fangio at the wheel. More from Milwaukee right after this break.
Well, the engines have just been ordered into life on the 28 Indy cars here as we're ready for the start of the Miller 200 from Wisconsin State Fair Park here in West Allis, Wisconsin, a suburb to the west of downtown Milwaukee. Now let's take a look at how they line up in the starting grid. On the pole will be Paul Tracy alongside his former teammate Emerson Fittipaldi. In row 2, Christian Fittipaldi and Brian Herta. The third row, Michael Andretti, who won on the mile oval at Nazareth, and Gilles de Ferran. In row 4, Alex Zanardi and Raul Boisel. The fifth row, Mark Blundell is back, and he is alongside Robbie Gordon. In row number 6, Al Unser Jr. currently second in the points, and Mauricio Gugelmin. In the 7th row, Bobby Rahal and the points leader, Jimmy Vasser. The 8th row, Scott Pruitt and Andre Ribeiro. In row 9, Adrian Fernandez and rookie Greg Moore. The 10th row, Parker Johnstone, 19th starting position, and Stefan Johansson. In the 11th row, Roberto Moreno and Jeff Krosnoff. The 12th row, Juan Fangio and Michel Jourdain Jr. Row 13, Eddie Lawson and Eliseo Salazar. And in the 14th row, P.J. Jones and Hiro Matsushita. So that's the way they line up. They've already started on the first of the parade laps. So what we have ahead of us is 200 laps, 200 miles. The race record set by Michael Andretti back in '92 at 138 miles an hour. And 2 races in the modern history here have run without a yellow flag. And we've had some go quite some distance before the yellow came out. Here are the way the points set up with Jimmy Vasser leading the points fight. Al Unser Jr., Scott Pruitt, Andre Ribeiro, and Gilles de Ferran and Greg Moore, all very closely grouped. And of course, with 10 races to go in the series, the focus is right now on the championship. Our stories for the day, well, we're going to keep track of who is moving up in the field. We mentioned Parker Johnstone, Al Unser Jr., some other key figures starting back in the pack due to the way they qualified here, or as a matter of fact, did not qualify. But what about those tire wars? We'll be keeping track of those. The battle may be tipping back away from Firestone toward Goodyear, and the package, that Honda Renard Firestone grouping. We'll see how it works out today. That may be changing as well. Let's go to Gary Gerald.
Well, that package has been so dominant. We've talked about it, but we think maybe today it could be a Penske type story as they switch around because of the Mercedes power. They've come to the fore. Goodyear has got a terrific tire that they think is race ready at Milwaukee. And of course, the Penske chassis have proved they're very strong on the short tracks. Remember, Emerson Fittipaldi, even though he is with Carl Hogan, they still pool the information with Al Unser Jr. and Paul Tracy. We think all 3 of those cars have got the same basic setup. Jack?
And Gary, here is that setup. According to Team Penske, what they've tried to do for the initial part of this race is have all the cars with a slight bit of push. The wisdom is that as the fuel load goes down and the car begins to lighten up, the push will go away. They tried to set the cars up more neutral, but then the cars got very loose at the end of a fuel run. And the one thing that all the engineers said, and the drivers agreed for Team Penske, you don't want these cars being loose on the mile at Milwaukee. Paul?
Well, so the field assembles. There is the PPG pace car, and at the wheel, the 1964 winner of this race, first guy to win here in a rear engine car. That's none other than Parnelli Jones. Of course, his son PJ starts at the back of the field, and his other son Paige is watching at home, still recovering from an accident over a year ago. But of course, Parnelli only drives the pace lap itself. Onboard cameras, this great view right over the top of Michael Andretti's head. We've got a number of them for you. There's Jimmy Vasser back in the field over his right shoulder. And Robbie Gordon, that camera mounted right on the end plate of the rear wing. Scott Pruitt, again over the shoulder. And there is Parker Johnstone. So we've certainly got the cameras placed where we can watch the battle as it ready to develop on this field. We should be moving into the aligned rows of 2. Interesting rules affecting the yellows. When we get to them, we'll discuss those for you. It has the makings of a great day, Danny Sullivan.
Well, I think it does, because you've got so many good guys sprinkled through the field. We got a good, strong group at the front, then some other fast guys with Robbie Gordon and Al Unser Jr. back in 10th and 11th spot, and then further back, Parker Johnstone 19th, Scott Pruitt in 15th, Jimmy Vasser, the points leader, in 14th, and Bobby Rahal, who always runs good, back in 13th.
On that newly repaved surface, takes a look at him. Here we go as Paul Tracy surges forward. Gil DeFerrin tries to move out and around the second row. In fact, gets it done. Tracy begins to pull away. Emerson Fittipaldi sits second. DeFerrin's looking for third. He's got it. Paul Tracy down the backstretch. As we've got trouble coming off of turn 2, several cars.
I think Parker Johnstone had a spin there. I think he went completely around. It doesn't look like he hit anything, but it'll definitely bring out the yellow.
Well, the yellow is out. Now there is an interesting set of rules. We'll try to run through them for you. What they do is the minute the yellow comes out, now the pits are closed. See that sign with a P on it? That's the one that tells you the pits are closed. And here is what happened with Parker Johnstone.
He's all by himself in there. He just got on the gas a little bit hard. Might not have had the temperature up. He certainly got the temperature up there now. That flame you saw come out of the back is just backing off. That's just burning off all the exhaust gases there. That's not a problem with the car.
Watching for Parker in the overhead view. There he is. Loses it down to the inside. Boy, that gave some people heart attacks. Gets it covered and right back, pointed straight and ready to go. Now, these other rules with regard to pits. Pits are closed, as you see. The pits will open for lead lap cars. Of course, it won't happen this time because we're only a half lap into the run. But into the race, assuming somebody wants to pit, the lead lap cars will pit first. And then 1 lap later, they'll show a sign that lets all the cars pit. And then when they're ready to go back to green, the field will split up. The cars on the lead lap will move to the inside or the cars left. And the cars that have been lapped will move to the high side or the right side. And then at the green, they go racing once again, but they cannot start racing until they cross the start-finish line. Danny?
Well, that's right, and something that has changed. Traditionally, when it went green, your crew yelled at you, the green light came on, you could pass anybody anywhere. You cannot pass now until you cross that start-finish line.
All right, now we can take a look at Parker Johnstone and what caused the yellow here on the start from his onboard camera there. He takes the green flag, moves down inside of Adrian Fernandez through the first turn and loses it right there.
He just got on the gas, and I don't think he had the tires warmed up, and he just looped it. Now, I've spun one like that before and gotten away with it. And, you know.
Where was that, Danny?
I think it was
Indy 85?
Indy 85. But
paid off for you then. Let's see what it does for Parker.
Well, let's see. But I tell you, the great part is everybody kind of sorted themselves out. Nobody got in trouble. Nobody collected him. Nobody had to avoid him and hit another car or anything. They're going to go back racing. But it was a big warning to a lot of people, particularly Parker, about those tires.
Great move on the start, too. Gil DeFerrin, we pointed it out to you, started in 6th place, came right around the 2nd row, and moved into 3rd place. So it's Tracy, Fittipaldi, and DeFerrin, Christian Fittipaldi, and then Brian Herta.
Yeah, that's Gil DeFerrin there in the yellow, bright yellow car on your screen, the 3rd car back, and he made a great start.
By the way, on the resurfacing of this track, they spent $1.6 million, and they just finished it a month ago. So this is a brand new surface. Now, as they come back to green, they're on the backstretch. We should see the green next time around. Remember, the rule says you cannot pass until you get to the start-finish line. Now, how many guys are going to remember that? We don't know.
Well, we don't, and particularly on a restart where they're in single file, this could be a whole different deal. Now, traditionally, when these guys come off like that, and they show the green like right now, anybody can pass anywhere in the field. Not so.
Well, Robbie Gordon was certainly trying. He came up alongside Michael Andretti, but it's not a pass till you're passed.
That's right. He had to have that nose actually in front of him, which he did not.
Nice piece of timing, though, for Robbie.
He was trying.
So back running on the Milwaukee Mile. 5 laps already in the record book. Robbie Gordon moves on Michael Andretti.
What a great
to the
shot.
outside and gets around. Boy, is that super.
And we talked to Robbie earlier, and he said that he's been working all weekend long on his race setup, not on qualifying, and it's showing right there. He just passed 2 very fast guys and around the outside.
The second one was Brian Herta, and you just answered your own question on how many grooves are there going to be on this track. Robbie's found another one.
Well, I think what they're going to have to do, the fast guys are going to have to be able to run 2 abreast to really get through this traffic that we always see here at the Milwaukee Mile.
In the front, it's still Paul Tracy, followed by Emerson Fittipaldi. Take a look at Robbie Gordon as Brian Herta now comes back, charging on him.
He slowed a little bit there. I don't know if he had a problem. He could have just gotten it a little sideways off the corner and had to lift out. We'll have to keep an eye on him.
Robbie runs in 5th. And then Brian Herta, then Michael Andretti. Robbie started in 10th place. Now Michael moves on Brian Herta. Going down the backside, drops in just before turn 3. Michael Andretti moves up, picks up 6th place.
You know what we might be seeing here a little bit. Don't forget, all these guys know that their tires are going to be a problem after about 35 laps. So they probably are sitting here trying to nurse those tires a little bit as well and see if they can make them go the length of the run. Don't forget, a fuel run can be about 70 laps. If their tires are going off after 35, that makes those other 35 laps a real handful.
Jimmy Vasser, the points leader, that red and yellow car as he tries to come up through the field. Nope, sorry, Zanardi, as he tries to come up through the field. Zanardi right behind Herta, sits in 8th place as we're ready to come forward to the front of the field, and there he is, Paul Tracy. Assumed the pole, got nothing for it. No point, no pole money, because the pole was determined as a result of combined practice times. The qualifying itself was rained out after only 6 cars were able to try and qualify. Then Alex Zanardi got in his accident. Rains came. They said, forget that run. And what a disappointment, too, because they were well over the track record set by Raul Boisel, almost 10 miles over Raul Boisel's record from 93 of 165.7 miles an hour.
Christian Fittipaldi.
Now, boy, take a look here, Zanardi.
No, I believe that's Christian Fittipaldi trying to make a move on Gilles de Ferran. And what I saw was that Gilles running a little high out there. I think his car's probably a little bit looser coming off a 2. And we'll watch it right here as they go in. Christian in the red car. See how he closes up right there? Now he makes a little bit of a run on him. He's coming off of there tighter. I think Gilles must have had a problem on that last lap. Got it a little loose coming off of there.
The battle for 3rd place, Christian Fittipaldi working on Gilles de Ferran. Jim Hall's team. Christian Fittipaldi, of course, driving for Newman Haas, his first year with Newman Haas Racing, teammate to Michael Andretti. And already, Paul Tracy has begun lapping the cars in the back of the field. So with 14 laps, 14 miles complete, Paul Tracy is the leader of the race, followed by Emerson and Gilles de Ferran. We're back at the Miller 200, and as always on the bull ring, traffic is becoming a factor. Michael Andretti taking advantage of it, has now moved up to 4th place right behind Gilles de Ferran. Nice move, put him out and around Christian Fittipaldi, and now look at him as he tries de Ferran.
Boy,
and he
forced
gets
his
him.
way
Boy,
in
oh
there.
boy.
He did force his way in there, and it's going to help Christian in the red car. Look, he's going underneath Gilles. I don't think Gilles going to go for that twice, is he?
And Christian is going to get caught up behind Salazar.
Maybe
as
not.
de Ferran comes down, tries to lock him in.
He's going to come off of him on the inside. He might have the run into turn 1.
On the home stretch, drag race, de Ferran still has it.
But Michael really took advantage early on. He almost got both Fittipaldi and Gilles at the same time. He's really moving up through the field now.
Nothing else has changed at the front. Paul Tracy still leads it. Emerson Fittipaldi is in 2nd. Al Unser Jr. starting 11th. And just past Robbie Gordon for 6th place. So little Al on his way up through the field, too. Always consistent.
And I think we're going to see as the fuel load lightens in these cars and you start burning off that fuel, it's going to tell which cars are really handling well.
23 laps already complete. 200 miles, 200 laps. 1 yellow when Parker Johnstone, who had not started a race here before, spun coming off at turn 2, didn't touch anything, continued on. Now we're keeping an eye on Robbie Gordon and Brian Herta. Herta's on the right of the screen there as they come out and move around Eddie Lawson. Lawson may not see Gordon, almost takes him all the way to the wall, Gary Gerald. Well, we'll try to get back to Gary. Well, let's try it again. Gary, you with us?
Yeah, Robbie Gordon has reported to his crew, Paul, that he's got an understeer problem. Says the car is very difficult to drive. I think that's what you're seeing right now.
I'll tell you, having at this stage of the game than the oversteer or lose condition. But remember one thing about a car. Usually whatever you have, as the fuel load lightens and the tires start to go off, it will magnify that problem. If it's understeer, it'll get worse. And if it's oversteer, it'll get worse.
Well, Robbie Gordon, struggling with that car right now, has kind of been steadily moving back through the field. DeFerrin and Christian Fittipaldi, the ongoing battle now for fourth place, as Michael Andretti is solidly in third now, and beginning to look at Emerson Fittipaldi in second. Also, Al Unser Jr., you got a glimpse of him for a moment there as he closes in on this fight as well. So Al Unser Jr. moving up through the field. Everybody having to handle traffic now as they work around Moreno. Back at the front of the field, Paul Tracy, Emerson Fittipaldi.
Well, he's got Emerson all over him. Paul said earlier when I talked to him that his car was a little bit too neutral, which means it's too much wanting to go to loose side or oversteer. And as the tires start to go off, he was worried about that being a factor.
Paul Tracy is well aware of it. He's trying to wave Bujelman out of the way. Bujelman sits just ahead of him. And as they come down the backstretch, Paul Tracy wants to make absolutely sure that Mauricio Big Mo knows that he's there.
Yeah, but don't forget, Mauricio doesn't want to go a lap down because that takes him pretty much out of the hunt. So he's going to be fighting hard, too. But obviously, wasn't enough. Paul just moved right past him.
Now, past Bujelman now has to deal with Hero. And Hero sees him. They come off the corner, but Fittipaldi gets trapped for a second behind Bujelman. He'll get him by the corner, but he'll get caught in behind Hero. Hero still leaving a lane for Fittipaldi.
That's the one thing great about the Milwaukee Mile. You're always in traffic, and it's always exciting. And you can have a great handling car, but if you can't get by the traffic, it doesn't do you any good.
On board Michael Andretti. Michael runs in third. You can see Christian is sitting back behind him, actually behind Joe DeFerrin. Just ahead of him is Emerson Fittipaldi and the leader of the race, Paul Tracy. So 1, 2, and 3 are now all together.
I'd have to say right now, Michael's been about the strongest. He's moved up through the field. Looks like he's got a great handling car, and he's closing down on those guys.
And I'll tell you what, Michael is so solid on the miles.
Particularly here.
Well, Newman Haas as a team has won 4 of the last 5 races here.
Look at him going up high. He's taking a look at Emerson. He's coming down low. That's Emerson Fittipaldi right there in the red car on your screen. He wasn't going to have any of that.
Michael Andretti in pursuit of Emerson now. Well, look at all that traffic. Wow. And Michael's got to thread the needle as Emerson goes low. Tracy goes high. And can Michael get him? No, everything remains the same. But traffic made a difference.
Traffic always makes a difference here. You got to work good in it, and it's the luck of the draw. You can go high on one guy, and he moved down on you, just like there, right there. Tracy got chopped a little bit. Look, Michael's got a run on Emerson.
Michael working on Emerson Fittipaldi. He gets alongside him. He gets past him. Now can he get past the leader? He's going to give it a shot. Paul Tracy says no. Comes down again. Slower traffic off to the left.
This is great racing right now. I mean, this is so exciting. And these guys, by the way, that they're lapping aren't exactly running slow either.
No, exactly. Now Michael Andretti from second place. He's come up through the field. Now he takes a look at the leader. They flash over the line. Tracy has that lap. He slams the door on him.
I think Michael's going to have to work a little harder here on Paul. Don't forget, it looked like he's working awful good in the high groove. Did you see him coming off of that corner? Watch him here. He'll stay out there a little higher. See him taking a run on him. He's got him. He's got,
lost momentum.
He had to lift out there. He really had the momentum.
Got alongside Fangio and lost momentum big time. It'll take him, what, another half lap before he's really back and rolling?
And he wants to get in the lead quick. See how he's staying out there about a car's length off? He likes that groove out there.
Now he's going to try him on the inside. Tracy doesn't ever seem to let that happen. Michael did have to come out of it a little bit. Now he's going to try Tracy on the inside. I don't think so. But
now
Michael's
he's going to go the
ahead.
outside. Now he's going to go that outside. If these guys don't move up, he's got him there. Oh, what a move around the outside.
I'll tell you what, you talk about thinking ahead. He makes that move to the inside.
Look at that.
Tracy comes down to protect it. They go 3 abreast into the corner. Michael Andretti has the lead. Fake to the outside, or to the inside, move to the outside, and Michael Andretti takes the lead on the Milwaukee Mile. We'll be back after this message and a word from our ABC stations. Back on the Milwaukee Mile, don't forget tonight on ABC, an hour of America's Funniest Home Videos, followed by Lois and Clark. Then Henry Winkler and John Ritter, as you've never seen them before in the suspense thriller, The Only Way Out, on the Sunday night movie tonight here on ABC. Well, we have seen some great racing that's put Michael Andretti up into the front of the field. You ride on board with Pruitt. Now you come back to the front. There is Michael, who has cleared some traffic. Second place is Paul Tracy. Third is Emerson Fittipaldi. And Al Unser Jr. has been working his way up through the field and now sits in 4th place. There is Robbie Gordon. And Robbie Gordon sits down in the field, still fighting that struggling car. Now, the Penske cars are in 2nd and 4th. And Gary Gerald, we're talking some real tire experimentation as we watch Robbie Gordon move around Herta.
And that's Michael coming off of there.
Michael Andretti, right? Gary, we'll get to you in just a second. We want to see what Michael Andretti's going to do as he comes through traffic. And you've got to remember, he's not fooling around with slow cars here. He has taken on some of the big names as he's lapping all of them. Now, maybe we can get that update from Gary.
We mentioned that the setups on the cars for the Penske drivers the same starting the race, but here's what's interesting. We just found out that Paul Tracy started on the option tire, which is a softer right side from Goodyear that should give you better track adhesion, particularly early. However, Unser went on the primary tire. It's a harder compound. It may pay off later on a fuel run. And right now, remember, he started 11th. He's up to 4th. It looks like that move on the Al Unser Jr. car is paying an early dividend for Team Penske.
Well, there is Paul Tracy. You take a look at his lap timings, and he is fallen back behind the leader. Most of that, I suspect, is traffic more than anything else.
That's a lot of traffic, and it's just how you get through it. But again, that's how well your car is handling. If Michael's running right around the outside and Paul can't do that, he's going to get through the traffic quicker than Paul Tracy will.
So Paul Tracy finally makes it around Robbie Gordon and puts Robbie a lap down. Michael Andretti still the leader. He's about 2.5, almost 3 seconds ahead. And there's Greg Moore. He started 18. He's now up into 6th place. Look at that move through the field. The guy who leads the Rookie of the Year fight right now.
And he's doing a great job. He's running through there. He's nice and smooth. He's still on the lead lap. He's going to be looking for a yellow at some stage to kind of close that gap. But his car looks like it's handling well. And he's shown well all year long on the ovals.
Remember, he finished 2nd at Nazareth.
And
that reinforces what you just said.
Yeah, and he made that storming run through the field at the end of the race.
At the front of the field, the Penske cars are now in a fight, and it's a fight for 2nd as Al Unser Jr. comes outside of his teammate Paul Tracy. Tracy, the black number 3 on his car, and Al Unser Jr. carries the red number.
And don't forget, as Gary said, we're seeing 2 different tire compounds
and
here.
And he's got him. Whoa!
Yeah, but he's got that harder compound on Al Jr. and the softer one on Tracy. They may be going away on him.
So Al Unser Jr. now takes possession of 2nd place behind race leader Michael Andretti. But that little fight, believe it or not, was costly. It gave Michael Andretti another 2.5, 3 seconds on the advantage. He's now 5 seconds ahead of Al Unser Jr.
I would imagine if the tires are going away on Paul Tracy at this first pit stop, you'll see him go to the other compound tires. Remember, we watched practice this morning with Al Unser Jr., and he was out there working in that high groove all afternoon, all morning, trying to get that car to handle up high and in traffic.
You saw Michael Andretti come across the line. There's the relationship back to 2nd place, Al Unser Jr. And by the way, it's closed down 2.8 seconds, 2.9 last time they came across the line. We'll look at the relationship again. There goes Michael. And here comes Albuquerque Al.
course, Michael's got to get through that traffic, but so does Al when he catches it. So that advantage is gaining. See, Michael's right there, and he's running against some fast cars. These guys in front of him are probably racing for spots.
He handles up Gugelmin. Moves to the outside. Looking for a hole on the front stretch.
That's Gilles DeFerrin in the bright yellow car.
And the earlier
Hero,
nemesis for the lead. He comes by Hero. Chasing DeFerrin now. Whoa! DeFerrin hanging on to it.
Moving around.
Past both of the All-American Eagles. Dan Gurney's cars. Thus far, no routine pit stops, but one has been made. Jack Arute?
Well, it was an unscheduled pit stop for Brian Herta. He reported that he had a vibration. Now, what you have to do when you think you've got a vibration is come in, because generally that'll be somewhere down in the tires. Now, we've looked at the tires that came off the car, and we think we may have found what might have caused the vibration. Right there, coming off the rear tire, it was starting already to come apart.
Jack, what compound is that of tire?
This is the optional tire, Danny. This is the one that everybody had the question mark about. They went with the options, and Herta might have already given you the answer. Once they go away, they start to go away quick.
And that's the one that Paul Tracy's on, is the option tire.
Looking down on the leader of the race from the Honda Helicam, Michael Andretti. He's completed 62 laps and has a 2.3-second lead over second place Al Unser Jr. His teammate Paul Tracy sits in third place, followed by Emerson Fittipaldi and then his nephew Christian. Al Unser Jr. started in 11th place to get up into second. So Michael Andretti is the leader after 60 laps. When we come back, we should see the first round of regular stops here in the Miller 200. Stops have begun. This is the first of the top 5. Emerson Fittipaldi came in 5th place. Stop fairly routine. Some changes on the nose wings. And he was in and out in 13.7 seconds.
Well, and they took a strip of tape off too, which to cool the car a little bit. Probably it's a little warmer than when they ran this morning, and they made a little bit of a left front wing adjustment.
No change in anything else in the order. It's Michael, Al Unser Jr., Paul Tracy, and Christian. Jack Arute.
Well, Emerson Fittipaldi, as we wait for Michael Andretti, we checked his tires, Danny Sullivan. He's running the non-optional, and he's fine. We're still waiting, Michael, to come in for the pit stop. And Christian Fittipaldi is in getting his service. And here comes Michael.
Al Unser Jr. is in. He, of course, is in the first pit box. Can he catch up with Michael Andretti? He's rolling. They get the gate. It's a good stop at 13.8, Jack.
We watch Michael Andretti stop. They're taking a little extra time, trying to make sure he's got a full load of fuel. He is off and away.
And you see, Hero's got a fire in the back of the car. He gets out safely. They get the fire out. As both cars in the lead come out of the pits. A lot of water splashed down in that area, and there's Michael. Paul Tracy has not yet come in. Michael reaches down, pulls off a tearaway, and there comes Tracy.
And there's little Al right in front of him in the red and white car. Right there, he's leading now a little bit for Michael. He had a better pit stop. And Paul Tracy just got in there in front of Michael in the red and white one.
And he's going to have to defend that position. He's going to try to keep Michael away from his teammate. So the leaders are in and out of the pits. Still waiting on the first stop on Paul Tracy, Greg Moore, and Bobby Rahal. That's Al Unser Jr. There he is. And there is Michael trying to play catch-up, still waiting for Paul Tracy's and Greg Moore's stop. Bobby Rahal plays off. He is in. Wonder how long Tracy can stay out there.
I don't know. He's going a lot further, but
75 miles already. Not counting the 5 miles or 4 miles leading up to the start. We only had, what, about 2-3 laps under yellow?
Yeah, and he doesn't look like he's going to stop here either. He's going around.
Michael Andretti would sure like to get him.
doesn't matter in the scheme of things. What Michael really wants to get is Al Unser Jr.
Yes, but the longer he can't get by Paul Tracy, Paul's moving over there. Looks like possibly he's going to go in this time.
Yeah, this is it. Paul
He's
Tracy.
slowing there to go into the pits.
Paul Tracy finally heading into the pits. Greg Moore should also be stopping as well. And here is Tracy, Gary Carroll.
We watch with the crew, and Paul, it is that option tire that goes over the wall on the right side. So they're going to stick with the softer Goodyear compound. No other changes. Rolling 13-2. Excellent stop.
And a 60-mile-an-hour speed limit all the way down the length of the pits. And there goes Michael, still in pursuit now of the new leader, as Paul Tracy relinquished the lead to this man, Al Unser Jr. So the red and white number 2 of Little Al is in the front of the field. The 77 laps already into the record book. One very short yellow flag. Update on Scott Pruitt, Gary? Jack, I'm sorry.
Well, Paul, actually, it's an update on Scott Pruitt and Greg Moore. Both of them, as you know, carry the Firestone banner. Interesting report after the Firestone engineers took a look at Pruitt's tires after that stop. It confirmed what Pruitt and Moore both had radioed in, that after 40 laps, the tires seemed to hold steady. That's the Firestone tire. So now they're going to change their battle plan a little bit in terms of handling. Originally, Pruitt was going to ask for a little bit more wing, but now they know what the baseline is after 40 laps on the car.
Whoa, did you see Scott Pruitt? Well, Jack was talking about him way out of the groove.
I think what happened is he went in there high to pass some cars, and he cut up in the gray, that area that's really slippery up there, and he couldn't hold it. He did a very good job of bringing it back down, keeping it off the wall. He's on the move again.
Well, I don't know how you guys do that. You have a big situation like that, and then he's just back in the throttle and keeps going.
Well, you got to keep going. You lost so much ground to those slower cars. You know you're faster than them. You got to find a way to get back into the groove and get them.
By the way, Greg Moore, you saw him there. He did make his stop, came out in 6th place. So it's Unser Jr., Michael Andretti, Emerson Fittipaldi, Paul Tracy, and Christian Fittipaldi. They are the top 5. And that whole question about the track surface and can it hold and how many grooves? I've counted 3 so far.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, now 82 laps are complete. 81 of the 200 laps, and Al Unser Jr. is the leader. Back on the Milwaukee Mile, the Miller 200. Nothing's changed at the front. Saturday, it's ABC's Professional Bowlers Tour in Toledo, Ohio, for the second challenge of bowling's Triple Crown, the PBA National Championship. And from Belmont Park in New York, it's the third and final jewel in the Visa Triple Crown Challenge. Join us for the 128th running of the Belmont Stakes. That's live Saturday on ABC's Wide World of Sports. On board with Jimmy Vasser, he runs in 9th place. He, of course, is the points leader, but this is not turning out to be the day that he wanted. As a matter of fact, if we were talking about the package, this is not the day, really, that the package wanted. Alex Zanardi, he started in 7th, back to 17th. Vasser, 14th, sitting 9th, got a few positions. Parker Johnstone started 19th and is up to 16th. What's Jimmy Vasser doing?
I don't know what he was waving his hand back there, or when he passed somebody, or telling him to hold back. I couldn't tell what he did.
Well, he's got his teammate right in there with him. You saw earlier some quick concern. Michael Andretti comes up to overhaul both of the Chip Ganassi Target cars. He's around the first one, and they kind of wisely, I was going to say they were giving him a lane, but I guess not. Now
Michael got a little sideways off there. You see the car move.
Want to get an update because we last saw Hero as he was climbing out of the car very quickly. Gary, is he okay?
Well, we'll find out. Hero, the fire at the back of the car, did it pose any danger to you?
No, just it's smoke. The wastegate pipe block and the burning out.
Glad you're all right. Thank you.
Oh, thank you very much.
He's fine, Paul.
Okay. There a lot of water on the back of that car, and remember, with a methanol-powered automobile, you throw water on the methanol. It dilutes it, keeps it down below its flash point. No problem. Do not throw water on gasoline or oil. There's your fire tip for the day, Danny. Now let's just ride here on board Robbie Gordon. Let's ride and watch the wonders of the mile. Here's another with Parker Johnstone. You're looking from the 15th place car. This pass for Roberto Moreno. Not a pass for position.
Of course, you see how smooth it is. The cars aren't bouncing around like you see some movements there in Michael Andretti's hands, but that's just what the car's doing. See, he relaxed his left hand there, going down the straightaway. Look how smooth it is. Unbelievable under braking. Now the new surface is just, of course, has to seat, get a lot more rubber down in a groove. But these guys, as they're running, are moving the groove up and making it a 2. And as you said, Paul, earlier, somewhat 3 grooves. They don't want to really be out there, but sometimes they're up in that 3rd lane.
Michael just came around Brian Herta. Boy, I'll tell you what, he is flying 4.5 seconds behind Al Unser Jr. though. Robbie Gordon still suffering with this car. Doesn't really appear to be at full song on this thing.
Well, he doesn't, of course. It sounds that way on camera. When they come by here, they are. But Robbie, as we saw this in-car camera shot just a few minutes ago, he was getting passed by a lot of guys. He's not happy at the moment. And I'm sure his car's gone off and the handling a little bit. Let me tell you, on a mile oval with this much traffic, it is one of the worst places to be when you've got an ill-handling car. When you're handling like Paul and Michael, it's fabulous. Did we just see a yellow light? I thought I saw a flash up there.
No, we're still green on the race courses. Robbie Gordon comes in. Let's go to Gary.
Well, we just come over with the crew to the edge of the wall and watch them give him routine service. This car has been ill handling. They're not making any adjustments. It was strictly tire change and a touch of fuel in a little under 10.5 seconds. Good quick stop.
Well, Robbie Gordon, 19th place at the moment, not having a great day. Leader is still Al Unser Jr. Michael Andretti is still in 2nd place. And Al Unser Jr. really seems to have everybody covered here today. There's PJ. The 98 car, that's PJ Jones, Parnelli Jones's son, his first IndyCar race. Let's go to Gary.
Well, one of those soft Goodyears that came off Robbie Gordon's car, we saw a spot, and I don't know if it was from buildup or not, but there's a hole about the size of a $50 right in the middle of the tread. Engineers are taking a good look at that right now. P.J. Jones has been in for a couple of stops. There was a report that he may have brushed the wall. The crew couldn't confirm that. He did not acknowledge that on the radio, but he had made his 2nd stop. Remember, he made a very early stop that puts him out of sequence with the rest of the field.
Look at this racing. I mean, it's just look at these cars. Look how many are out there bunched together, racing for spots. Dyson inside, outside. See the darker patch on the inside of the track? That's where the groove is. All the gray above that is what we call the gray, is where it's slippery and marbles. But look at these 3 abreast in there. Unbelievable.
Unser Jr. still stretching out his lead here. 7-7 over Michael Andretti now. Paul Tracy is 3rd. Emerson is 4th. Greg Moore is 5th.
Look at little Al. Look at him work through this traffic.
He got out there. He didn't have quite as much grip. Is he slowing now?
That's Greg Moore. Runs in 5th place.
I think he must have had to lift off the throttle a little bit there when he was trying to pass Christian. Got out of shape probably a little bit and had to back off, because now we see him down on the inside of your screen right there. It seems right back behind Christian.
2 penalties have been issued to Michel Jourdain Jr. and to Stefan Johansson, 1 each for a pit speed violation of the 60-mile-an-hour pit speed. And you answer that under the green by driving through the pits at 60 miles an hour. No longer a stop and go on that. There's Greg Moore. You see how he worked his way up through the field. I'll tell you what, this kid has been spectacular. Greg Moore right now is fighting to stay on the lead lap. He's been just in front of Al Unser Jr. for about 15 laps. Look at this. First 6 IndyCar starts. Look where Moore sits in with all of that. Now, does that predict perhaps that those names above him, Mansell, Ray Hall, and Big Al, that he is now beginning to mimic the likes of them? Well, could very well be. He's having another great day and seems to be adapting to the miles with no problem at all. We'll be back with more of the Miller 200 after this message and a word from our ABC stations. Emerson Fittipaldi coming back up, moves into 3rd place. Boy, what a nice bit of moving for Emerson Fittipaldi, who has been in a great mood, even despite the heavy rain yesterday. Every time I saw him, a great smile. Hey, I'm doing good. I feel very good about this racetrack. Obviously, he's telling the truth.
Well, he likes Milwaukee and he likes the miles. He does very well there, and he was happy with his car.
Nothing else has changed in the order for you. It's Unser Jr., Michael Andretti, then Emerson making that pass, then Paul Tracy, and then Greg Moore.
But Unser Jr.'s lead has gone from 7.7 down to 2.3 seconds. So something has happened. He's lost 5 seconds on the track.
You're right on board with 9th place Jimmy Vasser. Don't forget that all of these drivers head off in 1 week to Detroit, Michigan for the ITT Automotive Detroit Grand Prix. That's next Sunday with coverage right here on ABC Sports. And then at 3:30 Eastern, 2:30 Central and Pacific, the U.S. national soccer team tries to get their kicks when they square off against Ireland in the U.S. Cup 96. All next Sunday here on ABC Sports. Well, Jimmy Vasser has Scott Pruitt just ahead of him. Vasser is 9th, Pruitt is 8th. And there's the fight.
Don't forget, from Jimmy's point of view, look at this. Ribeiro going right under Jimmy Vasser, and Greg Moore in the blue and white car going under Jimmy Vasser.
Greg Moore still trying to maintain his position.
That's not for a place.
No, not for a place at all.
But don't forget, for Jimmy, this is critical because he's in that points lead. He doesn't want to, he doesn't want to drop out 8th or 9th spot. He wants to pick up a few points. They give points down to 12th place, and he wants to keep accumulating points as much as he can to pad that lead, especially with Al Jr. leading the race right now.
And Greg Moore is hanging on to the tail end of the lead lap. 1 car out of the race. Gary Gerald.
Stefan Johansson, who's had a tough weekend. You had the practice crash yesterday. What happened with the backup car, Stefan?
Well, the car ran pretty good, actually. It was actually slightly quicker than the race car yesterday when we ran it, and it ran good this morning. It started to go loose at the end of the stint in the first round, and then the throttle linkage broke right off. So we lost, I don't know, 15 laps to change it. Came back out, and the car was just real loose, and instead of being in the way of everybody, we didn't have any realistic chance of even being in the top 20. So we figured it's better to park it and have another go next weekend.
Thank you.
Well, and you saw Roberto Moreno get into trouble there.
Yeah, he had a little bit of a handle problem. He probably got it loose off there, slowed down, backed off.
I think he's still thinking about it.
He's still thinking about it, but he's probably trying to stay out a little bit so he can get in his fuel window. That's coming up pretty soon. If he can hang on for a couple of more laps, then they don't have to maybe stop twice more before the end of the race.
Yeah, 125 laps complete. Jack and Gary reported that the fuel window would open at about 130 laps. So if he can limp around and stay out there, maybe it helps him. Al Unser Jr. started in 11th place when he won here in 1994. He leads it now, and he started in 11th today. Bobby Rahal runs in 7th. And he has been consistently in 7th for some time now.
Bobby always goes well around this track. He's done very well here. He's always consistent.
Last win came on a mile. Nazareth back in 91. 92. Russ Thompson, our historian, just corrects me. Memory's faulty. Bobby Rahal, I'll tell you what. This team with Brian Herta, he is, of course, an owner, partners with Dave Letterman. They're still getting their feet under them to some degree. Well, you've got two superb drivers there.
Two great drivers, but you've got a guy, Bobby Rahal, who's wearing a lot of hats, especially with Hogan moving over to join forces with Penske, because he's the team owner, he's the driver, he's looking after the budget, and he's also one of the members of IndyCar on the board. So he's wearing a lot of hats, and he's a father of 3.
I wonder if they would ever consider putting Letterman on the headset. Boy, what a trip that would be. On board Parker Johnstone. And once again, the package, and that is the Reynard, the Honda, and the Firestone tires. Well, they're struggling today. He started 19. He's in 18. Back at the front of the field, Al Unser Jr., Michael Andretti beginning to close in. Boy, look at now the interval. Look at Michael. He's right there.
Oh, boy. And Michael, when he's got him in his sights like that, Al's at the left of your screen there in the red and white car. Michael's at the back in the black car. They're working traffic. And this is what Milwaukee always comes down to. Who can work the traffic the best?
And they're thinking about pit stops. Michael could be pitting a mere 10 laps from now. Jackaroo?
And here's maybe the first tactic coming from Newman Haas Racing. Tim Bumps came over, talked to his crew, explained to them that they don't feel they will need a full load of 40 gallons of methanol. So they're going to go in, take on tires, take on what they think is enough by a time stop, and hopefully gain some advantage over Al Unser Jr.
Well, that's not so much of a risk. I mean, they know how to do that. You know what your flow is. What you have to hope is that you figured it exactly right.
That's right, but don't forget you've got one of the best down there in Roger Penske. He's probably figuring something along the same line. He's not going to waste time putting on fuel that he doesn't need.
Michael Andretti should be rolling down to his stop in a while. And we've got a car in trouble. It's Raul Boisel. The yellow comes out.
Doesn't look too bad. He's lost his rear wing there.
And his right rear.
And boy, this will, I think now we'll see that strategy change. Now, what we're going to also see is the first time on a 1 mile oval is their new rules with the 2 cars, lap cars. See, the pits are closed.
That's
that
right.
P sign was the pits were closed.
So the pits are closed right now. Boisel got into trouble coming onto the backstretch, Jack.
Here's the problem. Raul Boisel has had the problem since the drop of the green flag, guys, complaining with a terribly loose race car. Now, what does loose mean? It means that the back end of the car wants to flip out in the middle of the corners, and that is, as you said, Danny Sullivan, very difficult. They made an early stop, tried to adjust it. Just a couple of laps ago, they came back in again. And the reason? Because the car was still big time loose. According to Barry Green, Raul just was having his hands full out there.
Raul was running 7th place, and here's his onboard. Was running in 17th.
See, he's gone up there high. Whoa. He's gone up there high trying to get there, and I think he just lost the car.
Exactly what Jack suggested. If he'd been fighting that loose condition, that is the extreme of loose.
That's the extreme. But don't forget what happened is he moved up there. He tried to get around a slower car. And as you get up there, that groove, that lane is not quite as good as some of the others.
You see the pits are still closed. The pace car is gathering up the field. And as soon as the field
is in the back of the pace car, then they will open the pits.
I think we'll probably see it open this time. See, they've got Al Jr. there.
Not all that dissimilar from NASCAR. If you're familiar with that, the one difference that you're really going to see here today is when the drivers discussed this, they thought that the cars on the lead lap ought to line up on the inside or to driver's left. Now the pits have opened up.
But that's open for the cars on the lead lap.
Exactly.
When they hold a minus sign up there, then that'll be for the cars that are more than a lap down.
And the lead lap should really only be 5 cars: Unser Jr., Michael, Emerson, Paul Tracy, and Greg Moore.
And we've actually gone 130 laps under green.
136th lap of the race. And we should see this entire front order come off and down into the pits unless there is some strategy that we can't phantom or predict. Gary Gerald.
Here's Al Unser Jr. Remember, he's in the very first pit box, so he gets the first service. But then he's got to go the length of the road at 60 miles an hour. They're making absolutely no changes. They're staying with the primary tire compound on Goodyear. Michael's in. Jack, you're up there.
And just 5 seconds ago, Michael Andretti made his way to finish his stop. They're taking out more fuel than they had hoped for. A full tank is what they've taken. They disconnected ease away. How about Al Jr.?
Al Jr. was not a fast stop. We had it at 18.5 seconds as they had to get all the fuel in. Paul Tracy has just left in the adjacent pit.
And that was a great stop for Michael Andretti. Although he was further down pit road, they completed their work faster. Michael Andretti beats Al Jr. out of the pits, gentlemen.
Yeah, it gave him the lead of the race, Danny.
It did, and I think what happened is it looked like the fuel was a problem going into Al Jr.'s car.
This is Raul as he got into the wall, causing this yellow first contact. Boy, look at all that.
Big flame there.
Engine oil from the gearbox, maybe?
Looks like, and some magnesium, everything back there. Just, you know, you make an impact into those concrete walls. They don't give at all.
And a hesitant moment for Eliseo Salazar as Raul Boisel is out of the car and taking a look at that track surface. As the rest of the field moves around, look at all the marbles up there in the groove. We'll be right back. Second yellow of the day, the view down on the Milwaukee Mile, a perfect oval from the Honda Helicam. As we now have 141 laps into the record book. I'll tell you what, this place always produces a great show, and it's doing it once again, Jack Arute.
Paul, indeed it is, and there's a lot of action on pit road as well. Let's update you. You know that push condition that was built in, so to speak, on Emerson Fittipaldi's car? Well, believe it or not, they just have finally gotten that push out. They made a wing adjustment last previous pit stop. When they came in, Rick Reineman and crew asked Emo, said don't make any changes. They changed the tires. They said the car's gone to neutral. They feel real good about it. Meanwhile, Michael Andretti's teammate, Christian Fittipaldi, the car, according to Christian, has a real bad vibration. They put a half turn of wing in the front wing for Christian. Now, one other point to remember, gentlemen, we're keeping you abreast of who's got optional Goodyears, who's got the regular Goodyears. Michael Andretti is running the optional Goodyear, and he has shown superior tire wear today. Let's go to Gary.
Remember what Greg Moore did on the big oval down at Miami to start the season when he was passing everybody late in the race? Then remember what he did at Nazareth when he got a second place finish on the mile there? Keep in mind, he may be now in position to do it again, because according to Tony Brunetti and this team, this yellow is exactly what they needed. They had struggled early. He'd come from deep in the pack. Now he's in position to challenge Greg Moore as they'll go to that lineup. I think it's going to be 4th or 5th on the lead lap and a chance to attack the challengers. Good position for the rookie driver. Paul?
5th on the lead lap, the last one on the lead lap. It's going to be a long cleanup here. They've still got quite a bit of debris and oil out on the racetrack, but Raul is okay. We'll be back.
This Ford Fact is brought to you by Ford and your Ford dealers. Have you driven a Ford lately? During an IndyCar pit stop of 14 seconds, it only takes about 10 of those seconds to change all 4 tires. And although there's only one wheel nut that holds on each of those tires, it's very rare that one of these wheel nuts would come off. Well, that's because they're self-locking. As you spin on this wheel nut, you'll notice that there's a little latch that just popped up that now prevents this from coming off. Only with a special socket now will this wheel nut come off the car. Now, not only are they self-locking, but they tend to be self-tightening. And that is, this is a standard thread on the left-hand side of the car. But on the other side of the car, it's completely opposite. The theory is that as the car accelerates, it will have a tendency to tighten those wheel nuts. But that causes a problem for the mechanics. How do you remember which way to turn the wheel nuts because they're opposite on opposite sides of the car? They have a nice catch key phrase. To put the wheel nuts back on, you spin them always to the back of the car.
Still under yellow on the Milwaukee Mile. The next stop on the IndyCar circuit is at Belle Isle Park in Detroit as Robbie Gordon defends his title at the ITT Automotive Detroit Grand Prix. Coverage begins Saturday with qualifying on ESPN2, and then next Sunday at 1 Eastern, 12 Central and Pacific, we'll have the race right here on ABC Sports. So we're still under yellow from that impact with the wall with Raul Boesel. He's okay, but when you back the gearbox in like that, and no doubt crack it open, you've got a lot of real thick, heavy oil on the racetrack, and they want to get that up. In today's stories, well, who's moving up? Greg Moore started 19th. He's now on the lead lap in 5th. Bobby Rahal started 13th. He is now in 7th, and Al Unser Jr. started in 11th. Led for a while, now sits in 2nd place. The tire wars, well, we're seeing a lot going on. Changing back and forth on whose compound is going to work well, and that is still a story running. Rule changes, we're about to find out how this idea of lining up to the inside works. I think it's a terrific idea. It'll probably take the IndyCar teams a couple of times to really get used to it. And then what about the package? Well, the package belongs to the Zanardi, Vassar, and Parker Johnstone. Zanardi started 7th, now 13th. Vassar started 14th, now 9th. And Parker Johnstone started 19th, now 17th. So maybe the package is now beginning to see some equity.
Well, there you can see what we've been talking about, the groove and everything, the shiny part down to the right of your screen, and all the marbles, the gray area. See everything gray up above that. You get up in there, and it's just like all of a sudden hitting ice and sliding on anything. They've been gradually moving that groove up toward the other place so they can run 2 abreast and sometimes 2.5. But you see the blower coming through there with the flashing lights on the truck, trying to clean all the debris off the track. But that groove is where they want to stay, in that nice clean part.
All right, the running order now under this caution period has Michael Andretti at the top, followed by Little Al, Emerson Fittipaldi, Paul Tracy, and Greg Moore. Those 5 should line up on the inside when they come back to green. The outside line, the rest of the race, Christian Fittipaldi, Ray Hall, Ribeiro, Vassar, Pruitt, Fernandez, Gil de Ferran, Alex Zanardi, Brian Herta, Mark Blundell, Gugelman, Johnstone, Gordon, Krosnoff, Fangio, Lawson, Salazar, Moreno, Jourdain, and Jones. Other cars, of course, out of the race. So we're still under yellow here. We do expect to be able to go back to green very shortly as they clear the cars off the track. We'll be back after this message and a word from our ABC stations. We've just gone back to green flag racing. You've only missed about a quarter of a lap, and Michael Andretti surged into the lead. That 2-row restart worked absolutely perfect. Very, very nice job. The 5 cars that were on the lead lap moved to the inside. Now you see Michael Andretti, Al Unser Jr., and Emerson Fittipaldi battling 1, 2, and 3. And Paul Tracy's in 4th place, coming up on Emerson.
The only person who got hurt there was Greg Moore. One of the lap cars moved down, got in between. He lost touch to that group of 4 cars right there.
But as far as the front 4 are concerned, it did exactly what they hoped. It's kept everybody together. Emerson Fittipaldi being challenged by Tracy now. You saw him move to the outside on the front stretch. They're on the back. .150 laps complete. 50 miles to go.
Well, and look at Al Jr. He's all over Michael. He's trying to find a way back around that.
Little Al saw Michael use the high lane earlier. Maybe he thinks he can use it. He was testing it in the morning's warm-up session. Little Al to the outside. Can he hold on through this corner?
Oh, he's going to get up there.
It may work. No, Michael comes out across in front of him. Battle for the lead continues. Andretti leads across the track. Little Al, boy, gets him down on the inside. What a move.
What a great move. And that was set up by going off there high off the 4. And he was able to stay in the throttle and get a run at him. Got a little draft, dove down the inside. What a great move.
It never ceases to amaze me how far ahead you have to look on an oval to make a pass, and how much of the strategy you have to play and the feints and the moves back and forth.
And really, Paul, also how much is set up. What you can't see and the folks at home can't see is how much is set up by being able to stay in that throttle. You can't see that, but when he had that run off, he probably got on that throttle just a little earlier than Michael.
So it's Al, Michael, and there is Emerson Fittipaldi running in third. Paul Tracy, the fourth place car. Greg Moore got separated on that restart. He's back a bit, but they are still those 5 on the leader lap. There is Greg Moore. Still trying to chase down, but he's only about 3 seconds behind the leader, so it's not so far back. How do we know things like 3 seconds behind the leader? Well, fortunately, we have the EDS scoring system here, and we have a very, very special screen that helps us keep track on the television. The teams have another screen that helps them keep track. So we thank EDS once again.
And look how little Al is just pulled away from Michael. He's jumped out there. Look at that. He's, what, 20 car lengths in front?
Well, here's something, Danny. Take a look at the front wing on Al's car. Right side there. Race Control has been watching that because they say it's been flapping, and they're concerned about it. Wings aren't supposed to flap, are they?
Well, they're not supposed to flap, but there could be a little bit of vibration in there. See, it's just vibrating a little bit under braking. I don't see that as a problem. But that's probably one of the observers making just a call. They want to be safe.
Gary Gerald, you can update that?
Just ask Richard Buck and Roger Penske what's with the right front wing. They said nothing, waved it off, just dismissed it.
Well, they're certainly not going to make any statement while they're leading the race right here. But I can guarantee you they're not going to leave them out there if they think it's dangerous.
Yeah, and there doesn't appear to be a problem.
No, that's just the normal vibration.
So Michael Andretti, now 0.6 of a second back in second place. They're the top 6 for you. And the game is catch up. Emerson Fittipaldi, that's third place. There is Paul Tracy, fourth place. On board Michael. Scott Pruitt, Jill DeFerrin as they battle. And it is a fight up at the 10th spot.
Trying to work that throttle.
Going back to Michael Andretti, second place. We're just going to sit and watch this for a bit. This is the move on the race course that will matter as he tries to catch up to Little Al. A couple of things to update you on. Remember Alessandro Zampedri last week in the Indianapolis 500 involved in that crash on the last lap? Well, he's undergone quite a bit of surgery. He suffered fractures to both of his legs and feet. There is a fairly serious concern about his left foot, though. He had surgery again yesterday on that, and it involved not only an orthopedic surgeon, but some reconstructive surgeons. They're trying to get blood to perfuse into the foot, and it has been compromised to some degree, and they are concerned about his left foot. As yet, they've not made any move about it, but he'll be at least another 3 weeks in the hospital at Methodist Hospital of Indiana if you'd want to send him a card. And while we're on the medical report, the longtime best friend of the IndyCars, Jim Chapman, who helped engineer the PPG IndyCar World Series to start with, has not been feeling well lately, been in and out of the hospital. And Jim, we all are concerned about you, and we wish you well.
See Michael there working just in the edge of that nice black groove, but he didn't want to get up any closer into that gray. That's not a good area.
You saw Little Al looking for Michael. There's Little Al across the line. There's Michael. So Michael Andretti still trying to run down the leader of the race. 172 laps are complete. I think this is going to come down to a shootout. When we come back, we'll take you right to the checkered flag. Back at the Miller 200 on the Milwaukee Mile. A beautiful day in Milwaukee. Al Unser Jr. is the leader. Michael Andretti trying to play catch-up. Those top 5 cars are all on the lead lap. And by the way, though not necessarily in that order, they're the same top 5 that we had at the conclusion of the race at Nazareth. And I don't think the order we're looking at right now is necessarily going to stay the same.
Well, it doesn't look like it, but you never know what's going on. And traffic, as I said earlier, is playing a big part. Michael was pretty close to Al Jr. Al Jr. seemed to have gotten through the traffic better. Here Michael lift off there, going through the corner. He struggled a little bit to get by Ray Hall and Maurizio Gugelmin.
Michael is 5 seconds back. Emerson Fittipaldi is not all that far back behind Michael. Top 5, Unser Jr., Michael, Emerson, Paul Tracy, Greg Moore. Those are the cars on the lead lap. Emerson Fittipaldi, 3rd place. Then Paul Tracy, then Greg Moore. Christian Fittipaldi begins the cars that are a lap down, Jack Root.
Well, Paul, no sooner did you notice that Emerson Fittipaldi was closing, so did Carl Hogan and Rick Reineman. They radioed to Emo that they think that Emo can get by Michael Andretti for that position before the end of the race. Said, you've got 20 to do it, guys.
So Emerson Fittipaldi has been given the go-ahead, as I assume everybody at the front of the field is. The assumption also is with that long yellow, fuel is not a problem at all, so they will run to the finish.
Yeah, but speaking from a driver's point of view, I think they always know where they are. Not necessarily when you can't see somebody, but when they can visually see him after that restart. He knows where Michael is. He's got the bit between his teeth, and he's going as hard as he can drive that car right now.
Emerson Fittipaldi came around Bobby Ray Hall, around Eliseo Salazar. He has one of the Dan Gurney Eagles sitting just ahead of him. Works under that. 16 laps to go. 16 miles on the Milwaukee Mile. Brand new surface, really paying off today. They spent over $1.5 million on it, and it has produced a great race.
Haven't driven this until this year. I know what it felt like on your body too, bouncing over all those bumps, and that smooth surface has got to be a real nice feeling for those guys.
Emerson Fittipaldi wants to make sure that the car in front of him knows he's there. He's also in that same gesture trying to let the observers know that they really ought to give him a serious blue flag with the diagonal yellow to let him know that there is a faster car in contention just behind him. Do I see maybe a glisten in your eye that you would like to be out there, Mr. Sullivan?
Well, it hadn't completely gone away. I mean, it's always a great thing to drive a good race car, and you know, you kind of miss it a little bit. I haven't given it up completely. Of course, I'm going to head back to Le Mans in 2 weeks and try for a win there, along with a couple other guys. Mario Andretti will be over there, and quite a few other Americans.
You know, that'd be just about okay if you came back and worked with us as the new winner of the 24-hour of Le Mans. That'd be a nice way to introduce you.
Well, I would sure like that, but I think there's 55 other cars over there that have the same thing in mind, and it's an awful competitive field.
Turning the focus back on the Miller 200, we've got a yellow. We've got a yellow as we've just had Blundell ricochet off the wall and keep going. The yellow comes out with 12 laps to go.
That's Mark Blundell right there in the Visa car that you see in your screen. He's obviously slid up, but his pit will be closed. But if he's got some damage, he'll have to go in as he's doing now anyway for safety. And I don't think he'll be that concerned about the penalty as he will, is the car okay?
Well, this sets up an interesting situation because they'll all close up. Nobody will want to go into the pits. Here's the replay. Ooh, just
Just white-walled it up there.
He just got up in that gray. He ran up high. I don't know if he was trying to pass somebody or not, but he got up in that gray. He did a very good job of driving around. But they'll have a quick check over. There's my last year's crew. Obviously, the car's not good enough. They're taking Mark out. Ziggy, the shortest one there on your left-hand side of your screen, he's telling him to get out. He's obviously looked, and something's probably bent that they can visually see.
Ziggy, a.k.a. Paul Harkis?
That's the one.
All right, now they will get the 10 laps to go indication this time by, but look under these new rules what it has done for this race. We have 5 cars on the lead lap, all the way down once again through Greg Moore, Al Unser Jr., Michael Andretti, Emerson Fittipaldi, Paul Tracy, and Greg Moore. When they're ready to go green, again, they will move to the inside, so all of the leaders of the race will be right together, all clustered, ready to go. Right, Jack?
Indeed, and you know, it's funny, as you monitor the radios on the crews, this is a time where all of a sudden the crew chiefs become coaches to the drivers. As you know, Danny, you know, under the caution, it's like our timeout. And this was kind of an interesting transmission we overheard for the Newman Haas team. They went to Michael, they asked him how he was going. He said, hey, it's going well, but then he added, you know, Al Jr. seems to be a lot smoother than I am.
Boy, that tells you something.
Well, we've seen a couple of times with Michael in traffic and 2 where he'll just kind of slide just a little bit, just ever so slightly, but that's enough where he can't chase after that throttle. And if you can't get on the gas early coming off those corners, you're going to be slow.
So now what strategy do you play? What is your plan on this thing? Well, for one team, that's Greg Moore's team. They've decided to bring him in the pits.
He obviously wasn't pleased with that. They're going to check everything over, make a wing adjustment. That's what they're doing on the front. They didn't take on tires or anything. He's still, don't forget, he's on the lead lap.
Nothing changes.
So nothing changes because he'll go to the back of that group, which he was already at the back anyway. There are only 5 cars in that group. So he's just making a little, got in the dirt there a little bit, but he's just making a slight wing adjustment because he feels the car's not handling well.
And it may give him just enough to get a few positions going to the finish. Gary Gerald?
Well, Mark Blundell has climbed out of the car. We don't have a camera down here on the wall, but a quick word. You're all right? What happened, Mark?
I'm fine. We got the car working just at the end of the race, which was a bit late, but once it was working, we were quick. And I got a little bit confident. I went around the outside of Maurizio and Zanardi for position. Just got into grey stuff. Once I was up there, that was it. I was history. The thing just slid right into the wall.
Thank you, sir. Paul?
Quick, just a little too quick. Michael Andretti, they've now given the crossed flags. That is a new signal here. It's a yellow and green cross, and that means, guys, let's go to our 2 abreast. It'll be 1 lap to the green flag, assuming, of course, that everybody does get into the proper alignment, ready to come back to the green. There's Jen Swintel giving the crossed flags to them. And they should move with 5 cars down to the inside, the rest of the field lined up to the outside behind the pace car. 8 laps to go to the finish, Jack Arute.
And Michael Andretti is chomping at the bit. He keeps radioing in lap after lap. What are they doing? What are they doing? Let's get back to green. I'm going to give it one last try, guys.
All right. And there is his target. His antenna sitting out in front there. Boy, hear him slip that clutch? What's he doing?
Well, he's just spinning the back tires to get that heat in those tires because he wants to be able to run hard right from the millisecond that they show that green flag. You don't see Greg Moore there yet, but there he comes up at the bottom of your screen. The blue and white car just came in. Now those are on the leader lap down on the left-hand side. Those 5 cars back to the blue and white one.
They can't start racing until they cross the line. The cars on the lead lap down to the inside. Pace car off the track. 6 laps to go. 6 miles to go as they come up to speed. Al Unser Jr. accelerates. There's the green. They come across nice and smooth. The top 5 all together. Michael Andretti moves to the outside. He's going to try to get little Al. Boy, look at the run he's got going here. And Michael Andretti goes to the lead. But Al Unser Jr. coming right back at him. Paul Tracy sits in 3rd. Emerson Fittipaldi 4th, and then Greg Moore. Now Tracy's going to try little Al as well. Al comes very high off the corner. Tracy almost gets into him. They're side by side. Tracy going for 2nd place. Tracy has 2nd.
Al Jr. must have some kind of a problem. The car's not handling the way it was right before.
So this yellow, and it changes what he didn't want, but look at Al. Al tries to get him on the outside, going into 3. Battle for 2nd. Michael Andretti pulls away.
I think what happened was that Al did. Oh, Greg Moore.
Greg Moore, you saw him at the top of your screen.
He made it
sideways, but he made it into the pit area, and the yellow comes out.
I think Al Jr. did not get his tires back up to temperature, and he was nursing them through there. He didn't have the grip that Michael did.
Well, Greg Moore lost it, turned into the pits. For a while, I thought he was headed straight for the wall, and got it safely under control, went through the pits, came on through, but they've put the yellow out at the 197th lap of 200. Cross flags next time by.
And I think we're going to see little Al want to do the reverse of what Michael just did to him. This is going.
That's the marks that Greg Moore left when he lost it coming off of 4.
Boy, is that great car control or what?
Oh, and here we may be able to see what happened. Looking at all the way up at the end, he's coming off of 4 totally sideways, and that's what scared me.
Great slide.
But now, what is this set up for the end of the race? A 1-mile sprint with Michael Andretti having to defend first place. If they get the cross next time around, and Al Unser Jr. and Paul Tracy both going to be on the attack. And Al's going to come up and say, now, Michael, here's what we'd like to do. Would you mind moving just a few bits to the left?
Boy, now what do you think that Michael's adrenaline's going? Look at this. Great car control.
Wow.
Great presence of mind to get off and get up that pit lane.
That kid is spectacular.
He is.
They will get the white flag and the green together. Wow, it's going to be great. What? All the maneuvering is happening right now. Watch them.
It's all down to this.
But remember, you can't pass till you get to the line.
That's right. But Michael, as we saw pass going into turn 1, or coming off of turn 1.
White and green together. Michael Andretti into 1. Al Unser Jr. and Paul Tracy trying to catch him. Boy, Michael got a good run back to the green.
Boy, I don't think
hold it right through the next corners. And the yellow comes out again as they come to the checkered flag. So the yellow comes out as they come to the checkered. Michael Andretti takes the win under a yellow flag. What happened down there in the first turn as they came back to the green, but a bit anticlimactic. We'd hoped for a run all the way, but the yellow came out while they were in the third turn, actually, and wisely they all got off of it. Parker Johnstone had contact with the wall in turn 1, but Michael Andretti takes the win. We'll update you on Parker, and when we come back, we'll also be able to talk to the winner and the combatants in the Miller 200. 32nd win of his career, and the second 1-mile oval of the year goes to Michael Andretti, Jackaroo.
And he goes ahead of Al Unser Jr. with 32 victories. But Al came over and congratulated you on your win. But tell us about that restart when you made a run after him and just dispatched him like some yesterday's trash.
I was surprised, a little bit surprised anyway. I was just on it, you know. I guess that new rule really helped me. I was one of the ones complaining about it, but it helped me. So, you know, what can I say? It was just the guys did a great job. They beat little Al out in the pits, and the car was just really good. You know, he made the right choice on the tires for most of the race, but then our tires came in the end.
When you had that great pit stop that gave you the position in front of Al Jr. on that last stop, what does that do to a driver when he has that kind of confidence in his pit crew?
Well, it's everything. You know, those guys are what make me look good for sure, and they did it. You know, they got me a position on the track, and you know, it was just great.
Hey, back-to-back mile wins. It looks like you're the master of the miles now.
Yeah, we need a few more, I guess.
Let's check in with Gary Gerald so these guys can celebrate.
Well, here's Al Unser Jr. and racing doesn't get much better, but when you're second in a situation, I know it's a bitter pill. Was it the fact that you went on the primary, the harder compound tire, and he was on the option?
Yeah, that pretty much saved him. And then, you know, of course, the way we're running our new yellows nowadays, it wiped out all those lap cars that I put in between us. But, you know, it helped for a great show and all that kind of stuff. And I was running the harder compound Goodyears, and you know, obviously it was, you could tell that, you know, it helped me during the race. But then, you know, to have a quick restart like that in a trophy dash, I ain't set up for that. I'm set up for the long run. So
maybe this is the not appropriate time to ask, but do you like this new rule change?
I think it was a heck of a show. I lost the race today because of it, but you know, had it not been that case, there would have been a bunch of lap cars in between with 10 laps to go. You'd have pretty much had an idea who was going to win the race. And in fact, the way that we're doing it now, second place has that shot.
And of course, the championship, which has got a long way to go, you make a giant stride in that respect today because Jimmy Vasser and his team struggled.
Yeah, you know, I don't know about that. You know, I wanted to win today, and that's the only thing that mattered to me. And what can I say? You know, the yellows bit me.
Good job. Thanks, Al. Now his teammate Paul Tracy third. He's with Jack.
And Gary, what a run Paul Tracy had there. Tell us about your theory on that restart, because you really took everybody's breath away.
Well, I'm real good on cold tires, and I knew Emerson had a little bit of vibration, and you know, we didn't have the handling there on the Marlboro car. I went a little conservative because I was real loose this morning on the green track, and I just had too much push the whole race. And hey, those restarts they're a lot of fun. You get a chance to be right there with the guy and get an advantage on the start. And we came up a little short. I got Emerson, I got Al, but he was a little stronger than me. But it was overall, I think it was a great race. Entertainment seems to be the key word now for you guys. You want to entertain the crowd. Well, I mean, it's if you're leading, it's not that much fun being, you know, having everybody close in on you. But if you've got a chance to strike, it's a great race, and the fans were going nuts. I could hear them over top of the cars, and you know, I think it provides great racing. And Paul, looks like the goatee's going to stay at least until Detroit.
An ongoing battle between he and Brian Herta. The Herta shaved his already. Paul Tracy's going to shave his at the first win. We've got much more from the Miller 200. We'll be right back. Back at the Milwaukee Mile, here's the unofficial results of the run. Michael Unser Jr., Paul Tracy, Fittipaldi, Greg Moore. As we'll look down through the entire order, it was Michael Andretti's 32nd win. Al Unser Jr. is sitting back at 31, and Paul Tracy's best finish of the year. 24 cars were still on the track and running at the end of the race. Only 4 fell out. What's that do to the points? Jimmy Vasser still has the lead. Al Unser Jr. is still second. And it's pulled that battle for the lead just a little bit away. And then there's the stories of the day. Moving up, well, we saw a lot of moving up. Most notable was Greg Moore, 18th to 5th. Tire wars, Goodyear's out in front on this one. Rule changes, well, they worked for entertainment. The little Al didn't like them. And the package, well, the package is struggling.
Well, and Sully Star, which is I've got to go with Michael Andretti. This is for the guy that did the best during the race, made the best performance. And it was him and his team. And honorable mention goes to Greg Moore.
All right, some great memories from this weekend. We'll see you next in Detroit in 1 week.